everyone and welcome to a new video. So in this video I want to show you how you can build props like this wrench I made for my Gadget Cosplay out of styrofoam or Styrodur and paper mache. I link all the descriptions and the materials below. So it's just made out of Styrodur and paper mache and it's very lightweight and it's also much cheaper than making everything out of foam. All you need is a good friend who works professionally as a sculptor for TV and film. If you don't have that friend, I got you covered. So let's start. What an amazing intro.
The first step is making a blueprint. I'm using an actual photo of a wrench as a reference and import it into a vector-based program. I'm using Illustrator, but there are other free options you can use. I use the path tool to draw around the outlines, and after that I can modify the shape a bit so it looks just the way that I want and fits my proportions. I'm saving it as a 20 by 30 cm document. To make it bigger, I'm saving it as a PDF, choose the poster option and scale it up to the size I want. For example, I'm scaling it up to 400% so the wrench is roughly 120 centimeters in size. The program will split it up into many pieces that you can then stick together to get a bigger pattern. So in theory this would be very easy, but we all know that printers most of the time don't work, and while humanity invented and built the most crazy things, we couldn't build one working printer yet. Prove me wrong. So if your printer is on strike as well, you can hold a piece of paper against your screen and copy it by hand. It's super annoying, but it kinda works. Then you just have to stick the pieces together, and here's me trying to do that with one hand while holding the camera in the other. If you're building this in more than one piece, make sure to add markers so later you can stick everything together at just the right position. You can now just trace it onto the styrofoam with a marker. I'm an idiot, so after putting this pattern together, I decided that it's still a bit too small and needs to be bigger, and since we didn't want to repeat the whole process again, we adjusted the size on the go. We're making the wrench out of 3 pieces because the middle part needs to be flatter than the pieces at the end. I have no idea what they are called, but later you see why that is important and easier than making it out of just one piece. Long sentence. In the next step, we have to saw it out. For the big parts, we are using a Multimaster and some sharp knives for the details and small curves. A simple metal bar can be very helpful for straight lines. Like for an actual wrench, the middle part has a slight hollow in the middle. So we're cutting that part out to make it flatter and put it back in afterwards. We are also adding some curvature to the middle part so it doesn't just look like a huge chunk of metal. Then the endless sanding begins. Use fine sanding paper and a sanding block to get a nice and smooth surface. Also, wear a mask, of course. Do as we say, not as we do. I think there might also be some form of Styrodur with a smooth surface available, but I couldn't find any, so we also have to sand down this annoying structure. After sanding everything, you now have to glue it together. There's special glue for styrofoam that you should use because we didn't and it etched away on some parts. Luckily it wasn't that bad, but you should learn from our mistakes. To keep everything in place, apply a bit of pressure by wrapping something around it. Yes, we used measuring tape, for example. When the glue is dry, we have to cover everything with paper mache. In one bowl we mix wallpaper paste with water. Give it a bit of rest to swell up. Another bowl of water, paper and a brush. For the paper it's important that you rip it apart and don't cut it. We want these rough and messy edges in order to create a smoother connection between the pieces in the end. Put the paper into the water so it can soak some of it up and gets nice and soggy. Put it on a Styrodur and brush over it with wallpaper paste. Once everything is covered, simply let it dry. We used hair dryers to speed up the whole process because I had to take it home with me the same day, but I wouldn't recommend it. Before you paint it the color you want, apply some layers of spray filler.
Shake it, baby.
This helps to even out rough edges and little bumps, and of course, wear a mask. Let it dry and sand it to reduce any and all bumps from the paper mache layer.
Also, wir nehmen auch ein Schleifpapier mit.
Once the surface is more or less smooth, you can start painting it. I applied a black layer first as a base for the metallic silver. I'd suggest to spray paint that, but I'm cheap and rather used my paint bottle and a tiny brush. Total regrets. Then you can apply the silver metallic spray paint or whatever color you like. I lost the footage of that step, but I think you get the idea. As a final step, I'm adding shadows by applying black acrylic color in the corners to get more of a realistic used look. I also recommend checking out Kinpatsu's or Kami's channels for actual detailed painting tutorials. And yeah, that's it. That's how we made this super huge wrench, which turned out pretty cool, I think.
Big shout out to my friend Lisa who helped me making this, because I tried to do this myself and I horribly failed, but now I learned this technique and I can give it to you. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope you learned something, and please let me know in the comments if you are working on a prop or a weapon right now, and if you're actually going to make this out of styrofoam or Styrodur and paper mache. If you like the video, please give it a like, leave a subscribe, and see you next time. Yeah. Whatever.